What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is L4urence's, and welcome to my Helltaker Demon Girls tier list. I know I'm a little late to the party, but I wanted to take my time to sort out my opinions on each girl, which I did in the form of the recently completed Helltaker Worth It series. Because if I'm gonna make a tier list on anything, I'm gonna take it really seriously and not half-ass it. And since the recent Worth It series was finally wrapped up, I now have a good grasp of where each demon girl stands based on their respective positives and negatives. The grading of each demon girl will be determined by two qualities: their looks, such as their cuteness, hotness, and beauty, as well as their personalities, accounting for their good, their bad, and even their ugly sides. And of course, the tiers will go from S to F as most tier lists do, but with a slight bonus. You'll see. Now, before we begin, however, there are also three caveats I would like to include. First, I will include material and content from the fan game Second Circle, because I believe it does an excellent job at fleshing out every character from the base game by providing more personality and background. Therefore, this will also serve as an indirect rating of the actual dates of each girl in Second Circle. Besides, the demon girls in their base forms don't really have much to offer besides their looks, and it would be a shame to reduce them to such. Second, I want to preface that none of the demon girls are terrible by any means, even you know who. As the saying goes in the fandom, all girls are best girls. Though some girls are better than others. Because no matter how low any demon girl gets ranked, all of them are infinitely superior to the girls of Rent a Girlfriend. Screw that anime, by the way. Third, what you are about to hear are scary things called opinions! Once again, these are just my takes and I do not claim to be the objective arbiter for each demon girl's worth or value. If you have any disagreements and wish to voice them in the comments, please be respectful and civil about it. In the end, it is all just drawings and fictional characters. It ain't that deep, people. Still, I am anticipating a lot of dislikes on this video, given how polarizing tier lists can be. Anyways, without further ado, let's begin. Starting off, of course, is Pandemonica. Her looks are definitely distinct and niche, such as her wavy hair, petite stature, and overall librarian nerd aesthetics. She definitely leans towards the cute side, but she can be beautiful as well. That said, due to her very specific and niche style, I feel her appeal is quite limited. Unless you're someone who's into the nerdy girl wearing glasses aesthetic, I feel Pandemonica wouldn't fit into most people's tastes. Now, when it comes to personality, however, Pandemonica definitely falls short in many ways. For one, her sadistic impulses is already a deal breaker, as most sound-minded people value their well-being and their fingers. But even if you deprived her from any caffeine and kept her in a perpetually fatigued state, Pandemonica still comes off as a very cold and distant individual. Those qualities already put up a massive wall between her and others, and therefore, I'd wager most people would not have the patience to put up with her and move on. However, Pandemonica does have some aces up her sleeves, and those who have the superb patience to put up with the rough spikes, as well as willing to risk their fingers, will eventually be able to see a side of her that's rarely shown nor appreciated. And that is her exceptional work ethic and selflessness. As the premier secretary of Hell, and arguably its de facto manager, Pandemonica works non-stop to ensure Hell runs smoothly and efficiently just like herself. In fact, she's the very thing that holds the whole house of cards together, no thanks to Lucifer's ego. Yet, despite being overworked and clearly overdue of a vacation, Pandemonica never complains nor demands anything in return. In other words, Pandemonica gives everything and receives nothing. Given these circumstances, can anyone really blame Pandemonica for being cold and lashing out every once in a while? Therefore, even if her personality falls short in many ways, I say her virtuous sense of duty and self-sacrifice makes up for it. Furthermore, despite her coldness, Pandemonica isn't a complete psychopath like Loremaster. After all, she does give advice on how to avoid dying during the main game, clearly implying that she still cares about you. Secondly, she does have her wholesome moments as well, especially when she's provided with great quality coffee. Though, just make sure she's not given too much. In conclusion, Pandemonica is for those who have a very specific niche and exceptional patience, as she's a very steep hill to climb. In fact, just like cats, she will be cautious at first, before eventually warming up to you. And once you do cross over that hill, you will find yourself with the most hardworking, dutiful, and loyal partner you could ask for. But just make sure you don't get on her bad side, or, again, give her too much caffeine, lest you wish to get in the crossfire of her sadistic outbursts. Unless you're into that somehow. So, Pandemonica's verdict is a B. She's cute, sure, but I think her style is too specific to be appreciated by the broad fanbase. Still, I can't see the appeal towards her. On the other hand, her personality does leave a lot to be desired, and other than a few masochistic individuals, her sadism is an instant red flag for most people, which is why she would be ranked in the C tier. But, after learning on Second Circle about all the hardships she has to put up with and the incredible work she performs within these conditions, I say it more than enough makes up for her vices. So once again, Pandemonica will be placed on the B tier. Now, on to Modeus. Ho ho, the lustful demon is definitely a stunner from the get-go. From her wavy hair, beachy sparkling eyes, impressive curves, and that sexy turtleneck sweater. As the lustful demon, it's clear Modeus' sex appeal is maxed out intentionally by design. Therefore, unlike Pandemonica, Modeus' appeal is potentially much broader. Hence, Modeus is most certainly hot, but can also be cute and beautiful if she wishes to be. In other words, 3 of a kind, baby. However, when it comes to personality, like Pandemonica, Modeus is a mixed bag. On one hand, Modeus is quite the lovable gal. They say you have to put in the work to make a relationship worthwhile and fulfilling, and you best bet Modeus will work overtime. Unlike many casual relationships, where the partners in question are just glorified roommates, Modeus will take things very seriously and make it clear that she's in it for real. As stated in my very old Modeus video, she's never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Why, thank you. Anyways, a full commitment's what she's thinking of, and you wouldn't get this from any other gal. Therefore, if you are perpetually touch-starved and a hopeless romantic just like me, she is the perfect choice for you. Whether it's 5-star dates, spooning on the couch during the evening, or having passionate nights on the bed, Modeus will give the full experience. However, on the other hand, all of this might also be a double-edged sword, because Modeus also takes things a bit too seriously. Because when she says she'll never give you up, she really means it. Yup, you guessed it right. Modeus is a yandere. For those who aren't familiar with weeaboo terms, a yandere is a Japanese term for a character who is very loving but also violently possessive. But Modeus isn't just loving, but also perpetually horny with insatiable lust. And she will go so far as to break the legs of any men she sets her eyes on, just so they can't run away. To say she's possessive is a severe understatement, but one might think, if I can just charm her like the Helltaker did, maybe I'll tame her impulses and everything will be fine and dandy. First of all... yeah, good luck. Secondly, even if she wasn't a yandere, she will still drain the hell out of you. To some of you, this may sound delightful, and even heavenly, but careful what you ask for. As cliche as it sounds, there is something called too much of a good thing. Not speaking from experience, but I have met some people who have, and it took a while to recover. Yeah. But even outside the bedroom, no matter how much you love someone or anything for that matter, you still need some personal space and breathing room for some quote-unquote me time. But with Modeus, you can kiss goodbye to all of that. So watch out, boys, or she'll chew you up. But for the Modeus fans who are still daring enough to pursue her and risk their pelvises, there is a loophole, as the Helltaker demonstrated. Because despite being the demon of lust, what Modeus really craves is authentic romance and a genuine sense of love, something that's clearly absent in Hell. In fact, this emotional and immaterial connection is what ultimately fulfills her lust, as opposed to any physical activities, which is quite the irony. In conclusion, Modeus is an absolute bombshell that will ensure you have the night of your life. But, being the perpetually touch-starved and hopeless romantic she is, how that night goes depends on how you are able to navigate her carnal desires. You will either find eternal love that will outlast the universe itself, or Find yourself with broken legs, a broken pelvis, and completely drained of your essence. In any case, you better be the most charming, suave, and ballsy motherfucker to court and survive the demon of lust. So, Modeus' verdict is a B. Yes, she's hot, cute, and beautiful, with looks that could absolutely kill. However, not just figuratively, but also literally. Because once again, she's also a really sharp double-edged sword. On one hand, the fact that she's so genuinely committed and passionate about you makes her an absolute keeper. But on the other hand, her being such an overly attached yandere makes Modeus quite the hazard. Which is why, if it wasn't for this massive drawback, Modeus would be graded as an A. But, no matter how attractive or lovable she is, I'd wager many like myself value their legs and pelvis, if not their life, much more than the demon of lust. Unless you're into getting snoo-snooed. So once again, Modeus will be placed on the B tier. Now, on to Cerberus. Cerberus is most definitely a cutie, especially when she goes into puppy mode. That and her pointy dog ears also give off the kawaii fox girl vibe. So weebs and anime fans, rejoice! But, also like Pandemonica, I feel her niche style has limited appeal as well. That said, unfortunately, Cerberus' personality has a lot of shortfalls. Be it at the base game, the comics, or Second Circle, the fact that she constantly gets into trouble speaks enough as it is. Still, we'll go over the good before the bad, just to be fair. First, for all her shenanigans, Cerberus is a very loyal and protective doggo. Just like man's best friend, Cerberus will protect and console you from any doofus who's dumb enough to bully you. The triple dog demon will rip and tear him apart, not even leaving a single scrap. No one will ever know what happened, so there's no need to call in the cleanup crew from John Wick. But her duties don't end there because afterwards, Cerberus will snuggle up and share her warmth of 3 bodies to heal you from any emotional fallout you may suffer, like the good doggo she is. All that being said, however, we have to be honest about the facts. And the facts are, Cerberus is usually the one that causes all the trouble in the first place. Just like Modeus, Cerberus is always onto some mischievous antics, usually involving the ire of authorities, thus dragging you into the conundrum as her quote-unquote master. Now, you might think, well, maybe I can just tame Cerberus just like any other dog. Yeah, no, not a chance, Sheldon. Back to the chum bucket, kiddo. Damn you, Eugene Krabs. You'll have much better luck trying to tame a wild lion or a Siberian tiger. Chaos and disorder are in her DNA. Cerberus is the incarnation of chaotic evil in the alignment chart, and you may just end up in the crossfire. But Lawrence, didn't you state in the Cerberus video that she also keeps the doctor away? Yeah, sure. By scaring them away. And even if you're personally not harmed by any of her antics, do you have the conscience to take ownership for all the trouble and destruction she causes? Do you frankly have what it takes to handle her at all? Just like many of these wannabe wildlife whisperers, they thought they could domesticate and tame Mother Nature herself until they got proven otherwise. Only the High Prosecutor Judgment is capable of putting the troublesome triplets on a tight leash. Literally. In fact, if it wasn't for her, the whole neighborhood would be on fire by now. Even inside your home, you will never see any peace and quiet ever again. Whether it's tearing up the sofa, nibbling all the wires and cables, devouring your whole refrigerator, littering your front and backyards, and turning your house into a hoarder's paradise, you can kiss goodbye to it all. That said, if you still think you're that much of an alpha canine whisperer to put the triple dog demon in line, be my guest. But for me personally, despite her protective nature, I don't think she's worth the incredible trouble she brings along. In fact, she's more of a liability, even by demon standards. So, Cerberus' verdict is a D. I'm so sorry, Clemetrix, I really am. Sure, she's a cute and adorable doggo, but still, she's just too much to handle. And even without her troubles, Cerberus comes off more as a pet than a love interest. A troublesome pet at that. So once again, Cerberus is unfortunately on the lower end as a D tier. Now, on to Malina. The sour demon is a little bit on the diminutive side, being one of the shorter demons like Cerberus. Though, like Modeus, she does have some impressive curves as well. Perhaps even thicker than the lustful demon. Plus, she also has a cute bob hairdo, so if short hair is your thing, you're in luck. But that's where the differences end, because unlike the lustful demon, instead of hearts, Malina will stare daggers into your soul, with an expression reading, "I really wish I weren't here right now." For that, Malina's also an uphill climb, as you really have to walk around eggshells with her, as one wrong move could result in split jugulars for you. In fact, just like Pandemonica, Malina also puts up a premature wall around her. It's probably intentional too, because she just wants to binge on her turn-based RPGs in her gaming dungeon all day and nothing more. She really is a gremlin with severe anger management issues and a drunkard who gives Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin a run for their money. Well gee, I think I'll pass on her. Is what you would think if you weren't a fellow gamer and vodka aficionado like Malina. Because if you are, no amount of sourness will stop you. Your jugulars be damned. Just like a diamond pickaxe, hot vodka chugging gamer chicks are such a rarity, it's too great of an opportunity to pass. As stated in my Malina video, gaming is unfortunately still somewhat stigmatized by mainstream society. But seeing someone in the hot demon girl harem who does appreciate one of the greatest forms of storytelling is a breath of fresh air. Furthermore, a lot of couples complain about how they have different hobbies from each other and thus making dates involving their hobbies difficult to arrange. Although having same hobbies isn't a necessity for a healthy relationship, it would be nice if you could at least enjoy one thing together. Lucky for you gamers, the two of you can binge Civ 5, Call of Duty, and Super Mario Galaxy all night long, while chugging booze, as well as enjoy other quote-unquote sweaty activities, if you get my gist. That said, I'd be remiss not to caution you of her drawbacks, because those eggshells I mentioned are actually minefields. Unlike Pandemonica, who can at least keep her sadism in check, Malina is completely unpredictable. Dealing with her is like defusing a bomb as an EOD technician. Sometimes she'll just swing at you just because, even if you didn't do anything wrong. Though to Malina's credit, unlike Cerberus, she doesn't aim for pointless chaos and destruction for its own sake. Still, even if the prospects of gaming, chugging, and sweating together excite you, I'd be very cautious not to get off the wrong foot. For me personally, however, I'd rather stay on the side of caution. In short, Malina is what one would call a tsundere. Sure, she is quite rough and spiky on the surface, but she does have a warm and softer side underneath, which she does open up only for the truly lucky and special few she trusts. So, Malina's verdict is a B. She's definitely a hot selling point for the growing gaming community, as well as a cutie if she wants to be for the special gaming and plus partners she marks her claim on. That said, her perpetually sour personality and potential homicidal impulses do downgrade her from an A tier, unfortunately. But unlike Cerberus, Malina, to her credit, does have some sense of self-control, despite her anger issues, so she still manages to avoid the C tier, though just barely. Still, if alcoholic and tsundere gamer girls are your thing, be my guest. So once again, Malina will be placed on the B tier. Now, on to Zdrada. Oh, the bitch demon is definitely another niche demon gal just like Pandemonica. In fact, you either love her or hate her, as evident by multiple tier lists that rank her at the very bottom or at the very top by her diehard fans. When it comes to looks, unless you're into the whole punk or gangsta aesthetics, I find it hard to see her appeal for the general audience as well. Still, Zdrada's hairstyle is quite fly, which is my favorite part of her. But smoking is a definite turnoff for me, and I imagine more and more people today share the same sentiment. Like Pandemonica, I feel Zdrada appeals only towards a very select group of people. Now, when it comes to personality, oh boy does she leave a lot to be desired. You thought Malina was bad? Nah, the bitch demon is a whole nother level and really does live up to her name. As stated before, Zdrada is rude and crude, and will chew you up before spitting you out like used gum. The salty spittoon ain't got nothing on the bitch demon, and she don't need no permission from you, Reg. Welcome to the salty spittoon, how tough are ya? Get the fuck out of my way. Not only that, her mouth will hurl out some of the nastiest shit that would get her cancelled in no time. Unfortunately for those whiny losers, however, the bitch demon doesn't give two shits about your feelings. She's a goddamn demon, not some terminally online keyboard warrior. In any case, Zdrada's not for the faint of heart, and like Pandemonica, one needs to have some real thick skin and be as equally as hard-nosed and crass to put up with a bitch demon. In other words, Z would fit right in at Philly, the most rude and foul-mouthed city of America. But if you're looking for something wholesome or romantic, like I imagine most normies would, sorry, she ain't it for you. Aside from the select group of people that are into her niche, I'd say Zdrada comes off more as that one friend you like to crack jokes with, especially the politically incorrect kind. But even that's stretching it, as Zdrada believes in equal opportunity and therefore will roast you just as much, if not more. And it's not because she dislikes you or anything, quite the contrary, as the more she roasts you, the more she feels comfortable around you. She just doesn't believe in any BS social rules like fake smiles and ass-kissing etiquettes like many corporate environments today. Still, if you're an easily triggered and oversensitive pipsqueak who can't take a joke, probably best if you give her a pass. But if you're a foul-mouthed motherfucker who doesn't take shit from anybody, Zdrada's the 1 in a million girl you've been looking for. That said, Zdrada's verdict is a C. Sorry to disappoint some of you Zdrada fans, especially if you expected at least a B tier like Malina. I know I said she's underrated in her video, but that didn't mean that she would be spectacular like the A tier. And as much as I respect the hell out of Zdrada and her free spirit nature, just like Cerberus, she too has too much baggage, and I personally feel she'd be too much to handle in a romantic relationship. I definitely wouldn't mind hanging out with her at a pub, smoking some cigars, and shit-talking about her crappy coworkers. Right, Kapitán? Boy, you don't know the half of it. And she's certainly hot in her own way, but being in an intimate relationship with her, there are better options. Besides, at least be happy she's not placed in the F tier, like so many people do. So once again, Zdrada will be placed on the C tier. Now, on to Azazel. In many harem shows, especially anime, the girls usually fall into 3 categories: cute, hot, and beautiful. And our one and only angel of the household is definitely a cutie pie. I mean, just look at her. Don't you want to squish her cheeks? That and her bubbly smile definitely makes me want to protect our precious angel at all costs. For that, unlike the demon girls, Azazel is the one member of the household who I like more for her personality than her looks. But that's not to say that Azazel isn't attractive. Quite the contrary, as Azzy can also be a heavenly beauty. She is an angel after all. Still, I think her personality is where she really shines. For one, Azazel being an angel already puts her ahead of the demon girls of the household. With a slight exception of justice, judgment, and generic, Azazel doesn't pose any risk to your life. In fact, quite the opposite, as her duty as an angel is to protect humanity and therefore will shield you from any potential harm towards you. In fact, Azzy is one of the rare few you have the best chance of having a healthy relationship with. Unlike Pandemonica, she won't lash out against you when stressed. Unlike Zdrada, she won't scorch you to cope with her daddy issues. No, Azzy will never hurt you. She will love you in the purest form by healing and consoling you when you are down, making it clear that you do not have to carry your hardships alone, like the angel she is. That said, I would be remiss not to bring up her downsides as well, which is her gullibility or naivete. On the surface, this may not sound like a big deal, but it has potential for some catastrophic consequences, as demonstrated by the events of Helltaker. In my Azazel video, I put the blame squarely on Heaven and the Angel General Michael for alienating Azzy, which gravitated her towards the quote-unquote dark side. But looking back now, I realize that Azazel does have some ownership for her downfall. Even if she was marginalized by Heaven or manipulated by Lucifer, it was Azazel who ultimately chose to go down the dark path and became Lore Master. Still, I do stand by that Saint Micah is too much of a hard ass as well. Cope and seed, ya Heaven simps. In conclusion, Azazel is definitely a double-edged sword as well. Potentially, that is. In her normal angel self, Azzy is the perfect girl and even wife material. She's cute, intelligent, compassionate, and protective, with a slight tinge of naughtiness behind closed doors. That said, if she's at the wrong place at the wrong time, things could go bad. Really bad. Therefore, if you're looking for a normal and wholesome relationship, Azzy's the one for you. But just make sure you act as a moral anchor like the Helltaker was to ensure she doesn't stray too far off. Beyond that, you'll have quite the heavenly experience with the cutie angel. That said, Azazel's verdict is an A. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. What about her gullibility? What about her becoming lore master? Sure, gullibility is a potential liability, but it's still nothing compared to having your fingers broken by Pandemonica, or your jugulars lacerated by Malina. As for becoming lore master, well, we're not talking about lore master, which will be reserved for later on. But Azazel by herself, provided that she doesn't go down the dark path, is actually quite the solid girl with very few drawbacks. So once again, Azazel will be placed on the A tier. Now, on to Justice. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Oh boy, another Justice simp. And that's exactly right, Mr. Star, because Justice is best girl. So it's glazing time. Her glistening abs definitely make her a hottie. But she's also cutie in her autumn hoodie, and the fresh snowfall most definitely highlights her beauty. That's poetry, Lawrence. That was so beautiful. So just like Modeus, Justice is also a 3 of a kind, baby. And if you have a thing for awesome, fit, and action-packed tomboys, you couldn't ask for a better demon gal than the awesome demon herself. But it ain't just her looks that are awesome, as her personality reflects her build just as much, if not more. In fact, it's hard to believe that she's a demon to begin with. For one, the fact that there's no bad dialogue choice for Justice in the main game speaks enough as it is. In fact, Justice will never kill you nor hurt you, ever. Quite the contrary, as she's one of the most chill, laid-back, and down-to-earth demon girl there is. You'd have to do something truly deplorable and despicable to piss her off. Even so, Justice will never lash out her frustrations against you. Nor is she some control freak like Lucifer or an overly attached yandere like Modeus. Being the strong and independent gal she is, Justice likewise respects your independence, as she trusts and respects you enough to take care of yourself. And there could be no higher form of respect than that. But that's not to say that Justice is apathetic or doesn't care about you. Sometimes, life beats you down. Sometimes, we are down bad and need help. Be it genuine advice, beating up your bullies, or just a shoulder to cry on. Worry not, as Justice won't hesitate to save the day. Because as much of an awesome and kick-ass demon gal she is, Justice also has a heart and cares about your well-being. She's not like Zdrada, who gives the tough kind of love. Nor is she a tsundere like Malina, who gives love reluctantly. Nope, Justice is straightforward with her intentions and will embrace you without hesitations. There are no steep hills to climb with her, nor any eggshells to walk around with her. As the chillest demon gal, you can be your real and authentic self with her, and Justice will accept you no matter what flaws you have, because that's how awesome she is. That said, however, even the best girl has flaws of her own. Calm down, Justice fans, I'm not breaking ranks here. But we also have to be honest, as no one is perfect after all. Fortunately, Justice doesn't have too many flaws, but we still have to point them out. It's only fair. For one, Justice can be a bit careless and even hedonistic. She really does not give a damn about rules, which I actually respect in its own way. However, pragmatically speaking, constantly breaking laws is no way to live, lest you want to be placed under watch by the authorities for the rest of your life. Listen, I don't like rules either, and I also enjoy having rowdy fun every once in a while. But I still have my limits, for I also value my life and well-being very much. Justice certainly doesn't have to worry too much as an immortal supernatural being. Still, it'd be nice if she dialed it back just a little bit. But as the awesome demon, I trust she'll hear it out. She may be blind, but she ain't deaf. Now, speaking of being blind, I think people overplay that part of her. Even if her eyes don't work, she's still a damn demon who's exponentially more powerful than any mere mortal. Performing the daily mundane tasks of life should be a piece of cake for the awesome demon. That said, however, the lack of sight also means that Justice will never be able to enjoy the wonderful things in life with you, unfortunately, such as watching the sunset together or reading wholesome messages from your Valentine's Day cards. It's a shame, but it's a price to be paid for an epic battle against the fly demon. Even so, Justice does not let any of that hold her back and enjoy living life to the fullest. Just like how life finds a way, so does Justice because she is the awesome demon. So, Justice's verdict is a not-so-surprising S. Justice is peak awesomeness, both in looks and personality. She's a fit tomboy with killer abs that could grind cheese, as well as a retired badass who doesn't let anything hold her back from still being the awesome demon she is. At the same time, she's one of the chillest and most caring gals that will make you feel right at home. She's never gonna give you up, and no, I will not repeat the whole verse again, but you get the point. For that, Justice is best girl. Period. So once again, Justice will be placed on the S tier, just as she deserves. Now, on to Lucifer. Of course, the Queen of Hell, being the grandiose show-off she is quite the dashing lady for sure. She isn't just a hot CEO in a slick suit, but also seductively beautiful, just as forewarned by the very scriptures. But believe it or not, Lucy can also be quite the cutie as well, which the Queen indulged more and more in as she moved to the service with her quasi-husband. Though, Lucifer wouldn't dare to show that side to just anyone, as she still has a dignified image to uphold. Suffice it to say, the Queen of Hell is another addition to the three-of-a-kind Hall of Fame. That said, the devil isn't infallible, contrary to her own make-believe fantasy. On one hand, I do commend her for leading Hell on a competent level, all things considered. She may be cold, ruthless, and controlling, but she still manages to run the Inferno like a well-oiled machine, which really demonstrates her aptitude in leadership and administration. Just like Pandemonica, the truly competent and serious individuals in life are not the most friendly or happy-go-lucky people you'd come across. Still, in a serious relationship like marriage, these qualities of Lucifer do make her a prime candidate. Which would be the case were it not for her massive ego. Because to put it simply, Lucy is a brat. She's a narcissist who cannot take any criticism. Despite being the CEO, she behaves like an emotionally underdeveloped preteen who can't take no for an answer. She's an arrogant ass who's blind to her own flaws, which thus led to her own downfall when overthrown by Loremaster. As calculating and shifty the science demon was, Lucifer still had all the aces stacked in her favor, yet somehow managed to fumble it all. She has no one to blame but herself, and rightfully lost her mandate of Hell. Which is also why people with a sound mind should think 10 times before deciding to tie the knot with the devil. And even if you ignore the fact that Lucy is the literal devil, just imagine being married to someone who's such a narcissistic brat. Well, you better make sure you sign the prenups. But then again, she's the literal devil. What else can you expect, really? Well, you can actually. Because despite just throwing her under the bus, I'd be remiss not to highlight some positives of her personality. After all, even evil has standards. Despite her narcissistic personality disorder, Lucy does also have a mellow side to her. Perhaps even sweet. She may not admit it, but Lucy does still care about the other demon gals and the man himself. From ensuring the overall well-being of the entire household, to helping out with domestic chores like cooking and laundry, Lucy is basically the mom of the entire harem, which functions more like a giant family than anything. Once again, how can you not look at this picture and mutter, "Aww"? So yeah, Lucy may be the devil, but she isn't all fire and brimstone. Just like Darth Vader, she does have some light within her, because the devil was once an angel after all. That said, Lucy's verdict is a C. Sorry to disappoint some of you Lucy fans. On one hand, as one who was once considered the most beautiful of all angels back in heaven, Lucy's looks definitely hold up. And sure, Lucy does possess competent leadership and administrative skills. But let's be honest, Pandemonica is the one who does most of the heavy lifting anyways, so she doesn't deserve most of the credit. Yes, Lucy can be quite the maternal softie when she wants to be, but unfortunately, her ego as CEO severely outweighs the sweetness. Like many abusive CEOs, she's very selfish, controlling, ruthless, and loves to go on power trips. And despite being one of the elder demons, Lucy somehow still acts like some petulant child. I don't know how the hell the Helltaker puts up with all her crap, and I don't intend to find out, which is why she is a pass for me. So once again, Lucifer will be placed on the C tier. Now, before we move on to the High Prosecutor judgment, however, sadly, I'm gonna have to end the video right here. Oh, come on, are you kidding me? Well, sorry, Your Honor, the video's already gone long enough. I've been waiting all month for my wife! She deserves the same level of glazing as Justice! First of all, both of you already know her ranking. Secondly, trust me on this, Cap. I got something special prepared for you and the High Prosecutor. I promise it'll be worth the wait. Alright, you bought yourself some time. But I'm holding you up on that. Since when did I hold back on my promises? What? These judgment sims. Anyways, this is the tier list we have so far, with 1S, 1A, 3 Bs, 2 Cs, and 1 D unfortunately. Still, if you disagree with the assessment so far, let me know in the comments. Really, I'm serious. Because if you somehow manage to make a strong case for, say, Cerberus, and why she doesn't actually belong in the D tier, there could be some arrangements in part 2. And speaking of part 2, these are who we have left, so stay tuned and until next time.
You better hurry up, Lawrence. I want my wife.
Settle down, Your Honor. You of all people should know that filing court papers take time.
Excuse me, that's my wife. My wife. What the hell are you talking about? That's my wife.
I'm step up for a bit.
I will report you to the police for impersonating me. Down with the Enclave. Glory to the NCR.
Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel. My $5 patrons are Kapitán Sládek, Kidzap, and Chocobird. My $2 patrons are Komida the Prep Cook Demon. If you would like to appear at the end credits of my videos, as well as have early access and exclusive content on Patreon, feel free to hop on over to patreon.com/LTELawrence and give a pledge. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you would like to see my artwork as well, feel free to check out my other platforms like DeviantArt for my entire gallery. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, this is T. Lawrence signing out. Have a good one.